17, I tore my right arm off in Calgary at the Calgary Stampede.
I bought my mom a goat off a trade line.
It's incredibly admirable what farmers do, and I think our society has gotten so disconnected from that.
Most humans enjoy it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you think that, cattle or pigs or things like that wouldn't also enjoy that aspect of life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Keep it fun. Keep it fun.
So you get drafted by the Giants. How do you feel like that moment you get the call?
I'm pissed off.
And she said, well, then you know what, Dad? You better find a way. Like, it just changed my mindset. I was like dying was not an option.
Hey, y'all, it's Pat. As we are coming into the last couple weeks of the year, what I've decided to do is we are going to do a few best of video series with season 2, Like a Farmer. I'm super excited to do a little flashback of the storytelling we've done, the memories that we've made, the relationships that we've built, the things that we've talked about, the laughs, some of the cries. I'm excited for y'all to see these flashbacks. Keep a lookout for these last 2 weeks of the year for some best of Like a Farmer. So you have this platform now, Jackson, and you, like what I mentioned earlier, like I want you to understand what you're doing for the state of agriculture is really cool, because I always say this slogan about we got to make farming cool again. Sometimes farmers can be overlooked in this world, and we need to make sure we continue to shine light on them. So I need you to give me some good ideas on how we can continue to shine light on who the farmer is, the equipment that the farmers use. Like, what are some good ideas that you have in your mind on how we can continue to make farming cool again?
Keep it fun. Keep it fun. Because a lot of kids like to have fun. I do. But farming's not a thing that you should get stressed out over. I know there's things that you can get stressed out over, but still, try to keep things fun. And if you have grandchildren or children that are younger, while you're trying to fix that, show them how to fix it, because they're probably going to run that equipment once you retire from farming. So you should teach them that early on, and then they'll have that knowledge to go on and do it later on in life.
I mean, are you kidding me right now?
17, I tore my right arm off in Calgary at the Calgary Stampede.
What do you mean you tore your arm off?
Skin was the only thing holding it on.
Jeez.
Little stepped on me, popped my shoulder out, and it went out the bottom side through my armpit and just ripped everything. Bicep tendon, labrum, all of it. Rotator cuff, everything was sheared off the bone. Broke the top of my humerus in 3 places. They had to take 3 pieces of the bone out. It just broke off. Took Tandy Freeman in Dallas 6.5 hours, put it back together, and put a screw and 13 anchors in it to put everything back where it was supposed to be.
I bought my mom a goat off a trade line. That's where people call in, like sell washers and dryers. And,
oh yeah, we got the shopper back.
Yeah. And I was still doing construction at the time, and I just remember saying, I need to find a goat by sundown. I called in trade line and gave him my number, and some guy had a goat, and I went and bought it, and it was a little goat, but it was an old goat, like a pygmy goat or whatever. And I bought it and brought it home, and immediately when I let it out of the kennel, it took off, and I chased it all down the neighborhood, around the neighbor's house several times. Finally, wore it out and caught it. But my mom she's never said she wanted a goat, never asked for a goat or anything. Yeah. So that was a pretty interesting few hours. I think we ended up putting it in my sister's backyard, fenced-in backyard, and it lived over in these big cane break they had over there. And I don't know where it is now.
That's great. Jacksonville, Alabama, you could write a book on stories like that.
Oh yeah,
there's
probably
another
still out there somewhere that goes.
You're pretty good at a rooster call. So I need to hear the rooster call, dude, and ideally I'd like maybe permission to actually have it on a constant basis on Like a Farmer, like at the outro, dude, having that rooster call.
I got you. I don't know if I can do it right now.
Yeah, you can.
I'll try it, and if it's not good, you can just take it out.
Perfect.
Frick. Okay. How did I do it? I learned how to do it because one time I was FaceTiming Dylan Scott, and it was late at night. It was like 3 a.m. And I was like, where's the band guys at? He's like, oh no, I'll wake him up real quick. And he threw the door open, and he did a rooster call. I was like, well, I need to learn that. Frick. Okay. I'm on the spot right now. This could be so bad. All right. If I was a chicken and it was 5:45 in the morning and the sun was just peeking above the barn, I would make a sound like, I love that, man. That was actually my best one yet, bro.
That was great.
That was good.
Dylan Marlowe, you have to. Why are you not opening up every single show with that?
With the rooster call? Dude, I don't know. I should.
Here, I'll tell you the process. How about that?
Yeah, please.
So far, every time I've got an idea, I write down the idea. It's about 75% of the time, there's a melody that goes with it in my head. Don't know why, don't know how, but when I write the words down, I hear it a certain way. And then I usually get at least a verse, a chorus, sometimes a second verse, and I send it to Gary Baker, the producer guy, and my co-writer. He's a co-writer on all my songs. Mm-hmm. And then me and Gary and a guy named Greg Barnhill, who's a Nashville legend, we get together. This is how it's been every time so far. We get together in a little powwow and we write that song, if it's worth writing. And it's so funny, man. Sometimes it's like so close, and they kind of make a AA song into a big league song. You know, they're Hall of Fame songwriters, and so they kind of tweak things here, move a word here, move a line here. Let's move this to the second verse type of thing. Or and another time, this last one of the last songs I sent them, it was the slowest, most heartfelt ballad that I sent them. It's called "Hit the Ground Running." And in my first line, I said, "I got the best night playing, honey, wait and see." And it was, "I got the best night playing, honey, wait and see." And they took that and go, "Oh no, this is up tempo. I got the best night playing, honey, wait and see." And they changed it into my most up tempo song. And so that's kind of how it goes sometimes. But I love that process of getting everybody in the room and seeing these creative minds come together and create something cool. It's really neat.
Rest of my life.
Thank you.
I think that might be me. Rest of my life.
That's it. That's certainly top three of I've ever written. My favorite that I've ever written. And I wrote that song in 30 minutes, and I hadn't written a song in months. It was during COVID. It's the only song I wrote during COVID.
Yeah.
And it just, boom, I was in the shower. I'd had the melody and
you were in the shower?
I'd recorded the melody the night before, and I'd gotten in the shower, and I played the recording while I was in the shower, and it literally had like soap all over me, and I'm humming, and I'm like, boom, that's it. And I got out, and just, it never happens like that, man.
And then you were like,
I wrote the song, and
there's a picture frame.
Yeah, there really was. It was actually a big mirror.
Little to the side. Yeah.
It's actually it was like a 6-foot tall mirror that leaned up against the wall, or was hanging on the wall, and it was crooked. It wasn't actually a picture frame, but.
Oh. One thing you would say to the farmers today, what would you say to them?
Thank you. God bless, man. I wish I could come meet you, and I wish I could give you a hand, because I know you're working hard. And yeah, I would just hope that we can figure out as a society how to honor you better and elevate you to the status that you deserve. Because, right now, celebrities and Vinny Chases of the world get all the accolades and all the recognition, but it's really you. You're the true stars. You guys are growing our food and keeping us fed and healthy. So, thank you.
Mic drop.
Stop breeding cows, as if I'm out there like with action figures breeding them, and I'm like, I'm not.
You're right, yeah.
They're doing it themselves, and it's weird that we as humans think that. I mean, most humans enjoy it. Yeah. Why wouldn't you think that cattle or pigs or things like that wouldn't also enjoy that aspect of life? Yeah. You know what I mean? And so
totally,
I think that that's something that people don't think about very often.
You're spot on. And look, I think what I'm doing, what y'all are doing, what our families do, there's 60 million people in rural America. Mm-hmm. We don't have an issue with those people, right? Because we're doing what they know and have grown up doing and they love.
Yeah.
It's the people outside of the 60 million that think of us as just crazies. But that's why I do what I do and y'all do what you do. It's an educational piece of it. You've got to educate the people outside of rural America that go to the grocery store and buy the food and just assume that it just gets there by a UFO or something, and that it's just there. And like, that's the cool thing about the advocating for ag that I'm passionate about, because there's a lot of people that think we're all crazy because cows are breeding or evil, or no, you can't kill a cow for the beef, well, I mean, how are you supposed to get it? And what you said this a lot, which I really appreciate, the ethical part of it.
Yeah,
I mean, you're raising animals for pets, right? And you're farming. That's farming. There's beef cattle. I come from a great beef cattle family, and yes, I mean, they get sent off, and yes, that's what's going to end up on your plate. You do it the right way, and that's the educational piece that I think is so important for people to know.
What kind of life did that animal live? And I think there's a massive disconnect in that, and that, like, you know, you have animals that, you know, live a very hard life, and, you know, just have like constant stress, or they're just not treated properly or everything. You know, we have a local friend over here,
what she
and she says, you know, I know that a lot of people would have an issue with how she does it. She raises her animals, you know, in a pet type environment, and then it gets to the point where they do become her food. And she said, you know, I know that this animal never missed a meal in its entire life. I know this animal lived a life of stress-free love and bliss. And it, you know, laid out in the sunshine, and it ate the freshest grass, and it got the best hay, and it got this. And then in the very end, in that moment, it had no idea what was happening. And it was gone. But the dignity that comes with raising an animal that way and cultivating, you know, I think it's so hard for people to wrap their head around that is the most humane way to do it.
Ross, coming from a multi-generational family farming operation like you do, you're one of the biggest advocates in NASCAR when it comes to the farmer. I mean, what's a couple of things that you want to say to the farmer out there? Because I can tell you every single weekend that you're racing that car, you're doing it for the farmer, and it's known. I've been fortunate enough to come watch a race, and every time I go out there, I mean, you're known as is that the farmer that races?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean,
it's your biggest support group too.
Right. I mean, agriculture is what got me into the sport, and so when I think about talking to farmers, talking to family farms across this country, it's the thought that, like Chef said, thank you, but with my platform, we want to tell that story, and that's what Fresh from Florida and what we're going to be able to do so much. And so as we go this year, we're going to be able to tell more stories. We're doing that across the country, inviting farmers out. We're going to continue to do that. So if somebody didn't make our list this year, submit next year, because we want to tell their story, and we want to shine a bright light on ag. And I have an incredible platform, and we have an incredible sport in NASCAR that allows us to reach the country and broader. So yes, thank you. But beyond all that is keep going, keep farming, keep putting more plants in the ground, come back next year. It's been a great growing season this year for us here in South Florida, but we've taken our licks in years past. So we ride the good with the bad, and Mother Nature is ultimately the end-all thing that dictates it. But we keep showing up, and I think that's what anybody that's still farming in today's world in 2024 and that's looking into the future, look, it's scary, and we know it. We know that everything about thinking about being an ag and putting plants in the ground in the years moving forward is scary, but somebody has to feed this population.
Yeah, and I'd even go a little bit further and add one more. It's the consumer too. You hit a little bit, but like organic and like, well, I kind of want almond milk. I don't like regular milk. Or hey, what are they calling it now? I think Pizza Hut or Burger King has the Impossible Burger. Yeah. Like you can't help the consumer either. And you talk about ever changing. I mean, these generations coming up too. It's like you have to grow something to appeal to the consumer, and that's why marketing is so important in farming. And y'all have done a great job, and you've hit it on earlier. It's like the TV show. It's not like I'm making millions of dollars. It's great for brand awareness, but it's great for ag brand too. Like people need to know what agriculture is, because that consumer, you can't control what they eat, but you can dang sure at least market to them, inform them. Correct. And all the businesses, like, what's everybody's day-to-day role?
So for me specifically, I'm mostly focused in right now our beef side, so our actual meat slaughter plant, and then the end products, Apex being one of them. And the farming side, I'm still around, but I'm not day-to-day involved with. My brother Cole is more of the in-the-field manager, and then we have a couple guys. Jesse Stretch, our COO of the farm, just does an incredible job. But we all have I think what really sets us apart and what makes our company work is we have different skill sets. So we all have our specialties, whereas I'm sales and marketing side of things. My dad's construction. My brother Jesse's overseeing construction on car washes. My brother Cole loves the farm, so he's in the field managing. And then my youngest brother loves the car washes. So it's not like we all have the exact same skill set, which I don't think would work across our company. We're too big of a company to have everyone focused in one central area.
And I'll tell you, I think growing up in a 6th-generation farming family, it's not like, hell, you can't even afford for everybody to work just on the family farm. You follow me? You can't afford to pay it. I mean, that's real life, guys. I mean, you can't, not all the boys and all the family members just can't, I'm going to go work on the farm. Nobody would make any money.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Gates is coming in strong when it comes to buying up a bunch of dirt. And,
He is.
And it's just one of those, like, at the end of the day, are these guys going to keep farming, or are they just buying another asset to put on the balance sheet? So that's going to kind of be the...
Well, I think with you look at Bill Gates, like he's buying ag land and hiring family farmers to run it.
Which I love.
So, I mean, like he's gotten a lot of negative press. And
how do you feel about that? Like, what's Jamie Johnson's take on the Bill Gates coming in strong?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, yes, he's bought a lot of land, but he's like 0.0001% of the total ag land in America. And like, I think it's good clickbait to say, oh, Bill Gates is evil and he's buying all the land, but he hasn't. I mean, well, yes, it's a lot of acres. In the whole of things, it's really not that much.
Yeah. Like, what's something that you would say about the farmer to the everyday person right now who's just a consumer?
Yeah. Salt of the earth. Literally the reason that America is here is because of the ingenuity and the just relentlessness of the farmer. These are not rich people. They're not wealthy people. They go from one moment digging their hand in the dirt, to pull out that beet, to shaking your hand so they can, sell the vegetables for that season. It's incredibly admirable what farmers do. And I think our society has gotten so disconnected from that. They think the food just shows up and it's pretty and polished and clean at the grocery store. Yep. You should see the back of our kitchens when some of the vegetables used to come into Naked Farmer when we first started. They would be so dirty and so sandy.
Yeah.
It'd take us 3-4 hours just to wash them off. And part of what we see our job at Naked Farmer is to tell that story behind the farmer and behind the family, and connect farmers to community, because I believe that we've gotten so out of touch with how our food's grown, where it comes from, how it's treated. And I believe that it's our job as our restaurant to really make sure that message is known. It really concerns me that the biggest owner of farmland is Bill Gates in China. Why does China own so much farmland in America? The question is not, is locally sourcing your food cool?
Yeah.
It's how are we going to feed the planet in 100 years?
I agree. Yeah.
If farmers and ranchers, and I know we're going to get a lot of hate on this, but it's okay. If we did what the dock workers did, there would be a new sight to what, hey, this is what farmers and ranchers actually do for America. I mean, I think farmers and ranchers are some of the most undervalued people in our society. I mean, they're just kind of taken for granted. The backbone of America is farming and ranching, and if you want validation of that, if you go into the library, is it the Library of Congress?
I think so.
When you walk up the steps there's a big mural painted, and this lady has a scroll of topics there, I guess, so to speak, and agriculture is the number one thing on it. And it's not in alphabetical order. It's not just because it starts with A. So go check it out. Our founding fathers knew that agriculture played an important part of our society, and it's just been taken for granted because the American farmers and ranchers are so good at what they do. Our society has never had to want for anything as a whole when it comes to having food on their table.
I think you're spot on. I mean, I've always said there's two things that I never want to have to depend on as a country, and that's my protection, whether that's military or down to local law enforcement, or my food. I do not want to have to depend on any other country to feed me. Like, if all the farmers today just turned off the tractors, it's not going to take that long for us to realize, these farmers and ranchers actually do mean something in this country. We probably should show them a little more attention.
So we're talking about it, so let's just go and hit Giants. So you're at Notre Dame, you get drafted third round.
Dude.
Golly. Kept the receipts on that one.
Yeah, trust me, I kept a lot of receipts on that one.
So you get drafted by the Giants. How do you feel like that moment you get the call?
I'm pissed off. I was 2 sacks away from being the lead sack getter in that season. And I blew my knee out the last game of the season where I was literally going to break the sack record because the guy I was going against, I was going to demolish, who ended up going second round that year. So all the teams got wind of this, and my draft stock went from being a top 10, top 15 pick to being third round grade. And sure enough, ended up going third round. And I'll never forget it. One of the DB coaches at the Giants, phenomenal guy named Dave Merritt, who's now with Kansas City winning Super Bowls after Super Bowls.
Yep.
Dave sees me in the rookie mania camp, and I'm sitting in my locker, and I am just pissed off. I'm sitting in my locker, like literally how I'm sitting right now, just like looking at the floor. And he's looking at me. He's like, "Tug, you all right? You good?" He's like, and I literally said to him, I was like, "Yeah, I'm a little pissed off though." He's like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "There's 11 DNs drafted in front of me, 11." And
damn, you did keep receipts, man. Do you know the names of all of them?
I'm not going through them, but yes, I do.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he said to me, he goes, "Well, what are you gonna do about it?" And years, I just played with a chip on my shoulder because of that. And so yeah, I was happy to go to New York. I was happy to work with O.C. Umeor and Michael Strahan and all that, sure. But I was pissed off at the seemingly loss of funds from going from a top first round pick to being a third rounder.
Josh, I'm open. Pass it to me. Joshy. Oh, everything's great. I'm glad that you called. Need you to get out of the car. I've got the perfect boot for you to try on. Hey y'all, it's Pat. Welcome to another episode of Like a Farmer. Very excited for today's episode. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, it's Pat with Like a Farmer. Are you looking to add some local flavors to your recipes? Well, visit freshfromflorida.com today, where you can browse hundreds of delicious recipes that bring Florida freshness to your table all year round. Become a Fresh from Florida member for free and create your own menus. Save and send your favorite dishes and get exclusive access to monthly newsletters packed with fresh local recipes. I can promise you, you will be a favorite in your neighborhood. From the Florida fields to your fork, year-round freshness and flavor are just a logo away. Fresh from Florida, there's a sunshine in every bite. Hey y'all, today's episode is brought to you by Ag America, your go-to financial partner for all things agriculture. As the largest independent financial firm dedicated to rural America, Ag America is changing the game when it comes to ag lending and leveling up finance options for farmers, ranchers, and landowners across the nation. And I'll let you know a little secret. The thing that sets this company apart from the rest is the people. They understand firsthand the unique needs of American farmers and ranchers because many of them grew up on farms themselves. They take a farmer-focused approach to finance, prioritizing relationships over transactions to help you build a stronger financial foundation for you and your family. So whether you're looking to buy land or secure working capital, Ag America has your back. Visit agamerica.com today to learn more and see how they can help you achieve long-term financial success.
because when farmers thrive, we all do. You end up with type 1 diabetes in 2011, and I guess at that time,
I was about halfway through my 8th grade year.
Yeah. I mean, tell me when you heard the news and just tell me how that felt.
Yeah, that was very jarring for me and my family, and it just was a moment of like, okay, this is new. This put my whole world on pause for a minute because, now everything that I had aspirations of and enjoyed doing was like all of a sudden thrown in the air. And my mom likes to tell a story all the time about so we went to see my family practice doctor who did the blood work, and it came back like my blood sugar was like 700 something, like astronomically high. I think so. Normal blood sugar is from somewhere between 80 and 150.
Yeah.
And so you want to be right around 100. Mine was like 7 times that. And so I was probably 200 or 300 points away from like going into serious like diabetic shock. And so we were going down he referred us down to the Children's Hospital in downtown Atlanta. And on the way there, my mom likes to tell a story about how she looks over and I'm like on my phone and I'm Googling like NFL players with type 1 diabetes, because I wanted that reassurance that the goals and the aspirations and the dreams that I had since I was able to walk were still going to be able to come true. And fortunately now I can be a name on that list when there's a kid who's diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and wants to know if he can be a professional athlete, he or she can be a professional athlete. Like, I'm another person that can stand here and say, it is possible. Like, there is nothing about this disease that you are now living with that can stop you.
And especially with you, like, you're so busy playing ball. Like, what makes you think the outdoors is kind of your stress relief? And I'm assuming it is. I mean, that's kind of getting away from life. It's being outdoors.
It's just been kind of, like you said, that stress relief, that kind of moment to reset, to refresh. That's how it was in college for me. We'd play on Saturdays, and guys would be out, at the bars until 2 a.m. while I was in bed by 11, so I could get up at 4:30 to get to the duck pond. And those types of things. And it was just like my way of resetting for the week. And then that kind of carried on into, I got drafted to Philly, and the same thing. We'd have an off day every week, and it's like you'd find me in a deer stand or in a duck blind in some capacity. Even it was Philly, like we found ways to still, go on some good deer hunts and duck hunts. And it was like, this was my life was very in the public eye. It still is, obviously, but in Philly is a different animal. And so for me, like, it was just like, okay, I could breathe. It's like work. And, I've put everything into my job. But when I have a moment to just kind of step away, sit in God's creation, kind of reset, refresh my mind, my body, everything. And then I could full speed ahead for the week again, and then just kind of do that. And that was kind of my way of refreshing, resetting myself. And I still find ways to do it. It gets harder now. I got 3 little girls. Life's busy. We're bouncing around. I'm trying to make connections now in Kansas City to find different places to hunt. And last year in November, I went to LA. A little tougher to find spots to hunt out in LA. So still trying to find that kind of refresh, reset button. But yeah, it's definitely something that's been near and dear to my heart, and it's ultimately been a game changer for me.
That song hunted for a long time, and it's continuing to do so. I mean, where did that come from?
The song itself? Just a co-write. 2 of my really good buddies, Jacob Hackworth, Justin Ebach. We were extremely hungover. It was because it was my birthday weekend. And so my birthday was the 5th of November, and we wrote Wine and Whiskey on the 6th. And me and Jacob are like best friends. So we were hanging out all weekend. We go to the right, and we're sitting down throwing ideas against the wall. Me, him, and Ebach, and nothing was sticking. And then Ebach goes, "Dude, I'm so hungover right now." And we're like, "Thank God, dude." So are we. So we laughed about it for a second, and then Ebach said the words "wine and whiskey," and we're like, "Let's chase that." And so we wrote it. took an hour or so to write it, and throw down vocals. And fun fact, the vocals on the master that you hear like on Apple and Spotify and stuff like that, that was the day we wrote it. Just threw them in, and I was like, dude, there's something special in that. There's like magic in that, so let's just keep that.
My freshman year of high school, right? Like Urban Meyer drives up, right? And I don't know, like I have no clue he's coming up. You're a Gator guy, so take it with a grain of salt here. He drives up to high school. There's a call, like teacher comes in. He's like, hey, like they need you down in the athletic office. Like, all right, you know what I mean? Like I'm really not like, I have a Miami of Ohio offer. You know what I mean? Like I'm not really getting heavily recruited, so you're not really expecting anything of it. And I sit down in this room, nobody's in there. He said, well, give him 1 second, I'm gonna bring him in. And he walks in, Urban. Looks at me, up and down, goes like this, shakes my hand, walks out the door.
Are you kidding? That's it, doesn't even say anything.
No.
Just looks you down and then walks out.
Walks out. And then the next day, I get a call saying, hey, we'd like you to come down to Ohio State.
Dude, that's Urban. That makes too much sense, honestly.
Right. And
so he didn't say one word. He looked you up and down, shook your hand, and walked out.
He may have been like, are you ready? Looked you up and down, and that was.
You know, we got to have the best dad around, you know, and I am who I am because of him. Yeah, you know, we lost him in a tragedy in 2016. And my first year was with the Chiefs was 2015. And so it was midway through the year, mid-season, which was, you know, incredible. You know, a deal that, you know, you hope no one has to go through, but you also realize there's a lot of people that suffer tragedies, you know, all around you every day. And so that was a big deal. That was a big hit for our family. And you know, my dad was my best friend. You know, he was a guy that I looked up to. I learned everything from, and really just, I was molded by him. And so I have so much that I owe him, and in my life, and my success goes back to him. And thankfully he got to watch some football, you know, got to watch me play in the NFL and chase that dream. And, you know, we had a lot of conversations leading up to that when I would get on a plane. You know, he worked for Southwest Airlines for 29 years. You know, when I was on my way flying out to work out for teams, you know, he was my biggest supporter. He'd always meet me up there and sit down and talk about, you know, how this workout was going to go and if we could maybe sign with the team, and, you know, just kind of your hopes and aspirations, everything with what you wanted out of that. But, you know, he was even a guy that about my third year in said, you know, sat me down at the airport, at Will Rogers World Airport. I was waiting for a flight to Buffalo, and he actually said, you know, hey, man, he said, I know you want to, you know, you want this thing, you want this dream, but he's like, you know, you're not doing it for me. Don't do it. Don't think you have to keep, you know, have the pressure to continue chasing this dream because of me. He's like, you do it for you. You know, if you feel like you need to hang it up because, you know, you met the woman of your dreams and you guys are, you know, going to get married and have a life and have kids, you know, that's there's other things in life outside of that dream.
I will tell you this, that I don't think I've never been quite articulate enough to describe the emotions of that day. I call them the dark days of diagnosis, because hearing you have cancer and you have a 3-pound tumor in your lower back and you're going to have to go through brutal chemotherapy and I can't guarantee it's going to work, that's devastating enough. But then all of the things that come after that, it just gets worse and worse in a lot of cases. You have to go get the cell type. Then you have to decide what kind of treatment. And then they give you the percentages of that treatment working for you. And I had a scenario of doom presented to me. And these words right here again are actually sent to me in a challenge with my daughter. Because actually right after I got off the phone, they called me on Valentine's Day. And my doctor said, hey, Merril, listen, you got a 3-pound tumor in your lower back. It's malignant. He goes, ironically, it's the size and shape of a football. He said, but you're going to have to go through brutal chemotherapy. He said, you'll be sick. You're going to be tired. He said, anywhere from 14, 17 days after your first treatment, you're going to start losing your hair. You might want to take about shaving your head. And he said, the last thing I have to share, I hate to say it, but I have to. He goes, I can't guarantee what we're going to do will work for you. And he hung the phone up. And the only two things I could think of were chemotherapy and dying. I was overwhelmed by it. I was consumed by it. So I thought I should share with my kids because they're not used to me being sick and bald laying on a couch. I thought I'd better get ahead of that. So I shared that with them. And then I went right back to that darkness of chemotherapy and dying. And I didn't realize my daughter had worked her way across the room, and she'd put her little dainty arms around my neck. She's, wiggling my neck back and forth. And I finally looked at her, and she said, well, then you know what, Dad? You better find a way. And honestly, I'm going to tell you this, like, I actually could start crying when I think about it. Because it changed my mindset. I was like dying was not an option. Being sick and tired on the couch wasn't an option. Like, all my energy changed. I was like, I'm going to find a way. So I walk into my office, I tear down all my goals, and I write down one. All right, I will destroy non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I stuck it on the wall.
I did sports year round. Football, wrestling, shot put and disc, stuff like that in high school. And I just really kind of always had that passion there. So, yeah.
And you get done playing high school ball, you get 0 offers.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those fair states there, and you feel like you could walk on?
My parents had a hunting cabin up there, or my family did. So I had relations with up there. I knew it. It was a small town. The town wouldn't really be there without the school being there. I think we had Walmart, Meijer, and that was about it. There was no airport. There was no nothing. I mean, it was a small town, about 2.5 hours from home. So I was far enough away where I was still kind of going away to college, but I wasn't in my backyard. Michigan was too expensive. Michigan State was too expensive. I mean, it was the recession, what do they call that? 09, 10. Yeah.
07, 08.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It killed our hometown. I didn't want to go into loads of debt going into school, and I was able to get some tuition assistance and scholarship through that, not through football, but just through my schooling. So I'm like, I'm going to go there for mechanical engineering. That's where I went to Ferris. That's what I went to Ferris for. It wasn't as expensive as the big universities, and it was still, it was an area that was somewhat familiar to me, which was nice. And they would let me walk on and play football there. So I'm like, that's kind of what drove that decision up there. That hunting land we had by there, my family had by there, was a bunch of 2-tracks. So we'd go out there, and I remember we'd go out there my first year or two. We'd go out there, we'd just go camping out there, just sleeping bag and whatever college kids get into, and stay out there overnight. And we loved it. I remember towing our buddy's Bronco back home and stuff like that. It was just a soft strap, and it was a blast. And then as football kind of got bigger for me, because I wasn't traveling as a freshman in college. They didn't travel all the kids. As a walk-on, I wasn't going to go any. They weren't playing me. They weren't traveling me. And for my first 2 years, I didn't do that. So I had some time on the weekends in the fall where we were able to get out and go do that kind of stuff, and it was a blast. But as football grew in college, our football season's in the fall. That's part of being outdoors in Michigan and enjoying hunting and everything. So that kind of took a back seat. And then it was cool to see that transition in college where I was able to kind of grow from the small town to really kind of, and like a small program, to really kind of becoming a big name at my college for football and kind of developing as an athlete.
And then Go Down Singing is the one we just put out, and that's
Go Down Singing, which came out now a few weeks ago. I mean, tell me, what an album, man.
So that was kind of 2.0 of the Cowboys record, and it was supposed to be a deluxe, but then the label stuff happened. It was like, all right, we haven't recorded Go Down Singing yet. Now it seems like the perfect song and the perfect album title and theme of this album, because I'm leaving my record deal. Go Down Singing, we did 11 songs, and we put all 11 of them on there. And that was an easy name for that one, just because it's this theme of the record of, hey, I'm on my own now. If I go down, at least I go down singing.
I have a question for you, Lord. I think, in my opinion, you're one of the best on TV. I'm a huge fan.
Goodness. It's not an opinion, it's a fact.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See, we've talked about this.
Thank you.
Especially when it comes to women in sports, I truly believe you are a pioneer, especially right now. There's a lot of girls that look up to you, that want to be you, especially in an industry where it might be harder to get there as a woman.
Yeah.
Give me this, from the beginning, obviously University of Florida, but tell me from the very beginning, when did you say, hey, I want to be in sports?
Yeah, I was kind of late to the party on that, and getting to Florida and being in Gainesville, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I started in radio, which I still love radio. I would do radio only if I could. And, the cool thing was I was there at a time when it was booming. We had an incredible basketball team there from 07 to 11. We had national championship in football. I got to cover that as a sophomore in college. So to be able to experience that, learn from people, that was when I kind of got the itch. And it was funny because I really did kind of flip a coin between Florida and Florida State. I wondered if I had gone to Florida State, if I would have had a completely different career path. Because it was really the juice of being in Florida and being able to, watch this team do what it was doing, and the highs and the lows of that particular 08 football team. But then other teams that were winning too. I loved that, and I loved covering that and telling their stories. So that was how I decided that's what I want to do. The other interesting thing about that time was somebody who, I worked with at the radio station said, you're not going to stick out at all unless you have a niche, and you didn't play any sports. So like, what's your niche going to be? I'm like, shoot, I don't know. Like, I need to find one. And I realized that there wasn't really a female presence in college football recruiting. So that's when all those recruiting websites were booming, and, they were looking for the 1 and 2 star Dan Orlovsky types on those sites, and ignoring all the 4 and 5 stars. How many stars?
I was 3-star.
Yeah.
Out of high school?
Honestly,
why do you say?
He probably should have been a higher rated guy. Like, you think what he did in his career. But anyway, so I thought, all right, I'm going to do that. Like, that's going to be my thing. That's going to be my niche. And then I was like, how am I going to do that? So I would basically drive up and down the state of Florida and go to every 7-on-7 camp I could possibly find. They were doing all those Nike camps and things like that. And I think, one of the biggest things, and we all see this in being in this business, is the work that you put in may not always love you back the way that you loved it, but it will at least give you something to keep standing on, right? Like, you're not going to do this unless you just say, I'm going to show up and someone's going to give me a chance. Like, that does not happen in this business. You have to grind for it. You have to work so hard. And, I think we're all still doing that, but I am proud of that work that I put in when I was in my, early 20s and trying to figure out what this was going to be.
How much has your family kind of played an impact when it comes to all that? Because
oh man,
and you have a baby on the way, correct?
Absolutely.
Congrats.
Yeah, we got number 3 on the way.
Congrats on that.
Soon, which it's kind of a surprise, but man, when God puts something like that in your lap, you can't do anything but embrace it and get excited about it. It's like I thought. We had talked about having a third. We started late. She came. She's one of 3, and I only got one brother. But we had talked about it, and feeling like especially in today's society where I feel like we're kind of losing touch with the importance of a family unit. Especially a home that has a moral compass to kind of give real guidance to children in a world that's kind of pampering them, and in my opinion, especially for little boys, kind of nerfing what a man in the making is supposed to be. And we have a unique opportunity. I'm not saying this for any other reason than it's true. Financially, we're able to support that. We can put a roof over his head and kind of lead him in the right direction, or what we believe to be the right direction anyway, and pray our way through it. And man, my wife I'd be lying to you, man's supposed to be the faith rock in his home, and I'd be lying to you if I took credit for that. That's my wife, and she really is a soldier of faith, and it's just a soldier in general, man. She's toted this pregnancy like you wouldn't believe. She started a school last year. A lot of people, may want to get back into teaching or something. She wanted to start her own school. To seeing what was happening in some of the school systems.
She started her own school.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we'd had some conversations. I was dead set against homeschooling our children just because what I knew about homeschooling wasn't necessarily the best scenario, what I'd been exposed to anyway in my life. And, she did an incredible job explaining to me how it had evolved and what it evolved into. And, we really kind of put some of these public school systems under a microscope.
So Hardy's bull that you've ever got on?
Going back as far as you want to go back. That one bull ride that you will never forget.
Hardest to ride or
the toughest one that you've been on?
I wouldn't even call this bull the toughest, but it was one of the toughest, most pinnacle moments in my career. And it was the first bull I ever rode on the televised series of the UTB. I had been to, I think, maybe 5 events already on the UTB, and I hadn't rode a single bull. Like, I rode everything, pretty much most of all of the ones that I first started getting on. I was riding 6-7 seconds, like getting right there and couldn't do it. And I just remember getting on this black bull, I think what they call him. I can't think of his name right now, but he wasn't around very long. So he had one horn that was chopped off about in half, I guess from a horn infection, and one long horn, his big old black bull. And he was really good around the lap. And I got in a little bit of a sticky situation to where my hips were going out and I was about to fall off. And there was just something in me that said, not today. And I willed myself back in the middle and ended up riding him, my first bull ride on tour. And I was 85.5 points. And it was also in honor of my buddy, Mason Lowe, who had just passed away recently before that, riding bulls. And he was actually
passed away riding the bulls.
Yes, sir. He was actually the first. He was the bull rider right before me. So it was my cousin Outsy, who's passed on now, Mason, and then me. And Outsy got bucked off. Mason got bucked off and stepped on the chest and ended up severing something and he ended up passing away. And then there was me right after. So there was a lot of emotions and stuff built up.